There is one stock that we are buying right now. It might end up being our biggest buy of the summer. It's one that we have loved for a long time, a stock that seemed to only go up. It was up 500% in less than 2 years. Wall Street used to love this stock too. That was until the market started to turn and it got hit hard. It's down 70% from its all time high in November. So, what happened? Is it a victim of the bear market or the supply chain or consumer demand? What do we see that Wall Street might have missed? And more importantly, what is this stock? Today on Dumb Money, why we are buying the stock that Wall Street hated.
We are Dumb Money.
Three friends who turned $30,000 into $30 million using nothing more than Twitter and a zero commission trading account.
The suits that work on Wall Street, they call those people the smart money. That's not us.
Our goal is to help level the playing field for everyday investors.
We are Dumb Money.
Hey there, Dave here, along with Chris and Jordan. We are Dumb Money. Welcome to Dumb Money Live. Before we dive in, a friendly reminder to feed the almighty algorithm. If you could all tap that like button, we'd really appreciate it. Chris, Jordan, some quick stats before we reveal the company. They reported earnings last month. They beat earnings by more than 30%. They beat on revenue by 6%. They've been beating estimates for more than a year. Their quarterly estimates, their quarterly revenue was up 47%. They say the consumer demand remains strong. They raised their full year guidance, all of that, and yet the stock is down another 7% since that announcement. So I know, Chris, you've been buying this a lot. A bunch of our viewers have guessed the stock, both on chat and in Twitter. So let's reveal it. What stock are we talking about?
We're talking about one of our favorite all-time stocks. We've been in and out of it for 8 years, 7-8 years. Crocs. Yeah, it's not a big surprise. I've been tweeting about it. But I think we have some new information. I think we have deeper analysis today. Analysis that's a bit deeper than where we've gone in the past. I've been searching and searching for a social arb trade that I think it is. I don't want to use the word safe during this volatile time, Dave, but I think one that is safer than most trades during this period where macroeconomic news tends to be driving the market more than anything else. I think we've talked about this before. What we want to look for in this type of environment are not speculative names, right? Because everything has been brought down. So if everything has come down, would we rather invest in something that's highly speculative that's been brought down, or would we rather invest in something that's less speculative, that's cash flowing, that's still a high growth company that just got brought down because the market perceives the company and the underlying fundamentals to be materially different than how we perceive them to be. But we're not necessarily speculating. It's something that we have a good amount of visibility into. It's really tough finding those types of opportunities in this market environment. I think we found one with Crocs. And I'll let you guys talk for a minute, but when you come back to me, I want to dive into the Crocs short thesis, because I think if we understand the short thesis and why this stock has come down from 180 to 50 some odd dollars a share, then we could start to poke holes in the short thesis. And I've always said you can't really gain confidence or conviction in a trade unless you fully understand the other side of the trade. So today during this episode, I want to fully understand the other side of the Crocs trade. For those of us, we're not financial advisors. This is just our trade. It's our opinion. Don't copy this trade, but do your own homework. But for those of us that are long Crocs, I've been getting really long Crocs. I plan to get longer Crocs between now and earnings. And I want to share one piece of information at the end of this episode. I'm going to hold it till the end because I feel it's so interesting. I just uncovered this piece of information yesterday. I have not disclosed it to either one of you, by the way. I have not disclosed it to either one of you. It's related to Hey Dudes. We'll talk about Hey Dudes in this episode. Yeah. I have a really interesting piece of information, and I think this one piece of information just might be the game-changing alpha that nobody is considering. Not even people who are long Crocs. Okay.
Okay.
I want to go through this fundamentally first because this is a really important episode, guys. I'm gonna say this right now. I'm gonna call this a high conviction trade for me. with one single caveat, okay? And I'll talk about the caveat later as well. But Jordan, just before we get into this, I know you've kind of been looking at Crocs. I don't want to like dive deep before at least getting your high level thoughts on, because we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now privately. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so my thoughts are I'm not long anything consumer or retail, and so I can't do it right now. This is not the time to go betting on the consumer stock, because even if they do really well the next quarter, the following quarter, I think every time you see a retail stock do well the last few months, maybe they'll pop for an afternoon and then get smoked again. Just because that's not where people want to be when you're looking at just an overall lack of growth, and credit card balances going up, consumer savings going down, and so for me, consumer is just not the type of stock that I want to be in.
Yeah. So I actually am still in Crocs. I got out of half of my position a while back as it was falling. Not, I didn't time it right. I didn't sell at the top back in November, but I'm still in it, half of my position. But I think that the biggest thing that is, we have shipping problems, we have supply problems, we have like all of those things when you're manufacturing foam shoes that could be a problem, right? But I think the bigger thing,
oil's
Wall
up, by
Street
the
might
way,
be
which
missing.
is going to increase the cost of foam.
Yes, their raw material
And
is
shipping.
the most expensive thing ever. But I think there's a lot of confusion around the Hey Dudes brand. And I looked at the report, their most recent earnings report, and basically every single time Hey Dudes is mentioned, it is in a category of something that's not good. So they're talking about their consolidated revenue increased 47%. The Crocs specifically increased 22%. So and they did not tell you what the revenue for Hey Dudes did. But if you kind of just do some math and think those are their two main brands, they must have been negative to bring a 47% consolidated down to 22% Crocs. They did talk about the revenues. They talked about projected revenues, $115 million since the acquisition. So that's a partial period. But every other category where they're talking about anything negative in the earnings report, the Hey Dudes name comes up. Gross margin decreased partly because of a $28 million Hey Dudes inventory fair value adjustment. General and admin expenses increased partly because of a $20 million Hey Dude acquisition expense. Inventory on the balance sheet increased primarily because of the addition of Hey Dudes. Their borrowing increased from $700 million to $2.8 billion to finance a portion of the acquisition. So like all of the financials around this Hey Dudes look really bad. And I'm hoping
Dave, a lot of those are one-time. Yeah. A lot of those are one-time hits due to the acquisition. Okay.
Absolutely. But when you're an analyst and you are just looking at the headlines, those are all negatives.
Okay, so let's speaking of negatives, that's a good transition. This is so key. I want to talk about the short thesis. Why did Crocs drop from $180 to $54 a share, $51, $49 a share last week, right? Okay, let's just talk about it, guys. Let's understand why Wall Street is selling this stock. Let's understand why everyone has been selling this stock. Crocs is getting lumped in with the other pandemic stocks. Very simply, the thesis is Crocs revenue went through the roof over the past 3 years. It started actually before the pandemic, but rolled into the pandemic. Revenue exploded, okay? It is an ugly shoe. We all know that. There's a thesis that people do not mind wearing ugly shoes at home because they're comfortable and nobody sees them anyway. So you had this explosion of Crocs because why not? Nobody's seeing you. You could be on a Zoom wearing your ugly Crocs. Like Wall Street cannot get away from that thesis, okay? So we've seen every other pandemic stock completely implode, Okay, eventually we see their revenue flatlining. We see their revenue starting to come down, right? We see warnings. We see guidance decreases. So the thesis is that this will happen to Crocs as well in time. We also saw a massive increase in margins for Crocs over the past 5-6 years. Crocs used to be a company that had margins in the mid to high single digits. Now their margins are in the mid 30s. The thesis is there is no way this revenue growth is sustainable. There is no way these types of margins are sustainable. So even though we're now looking at Crocs with a PE of like 5 or something like that, most people would tell you, institutional investors would tell you, well, you just can't trust that PE because this company could implode at any time. There's no way when we come out of the pandemic that people are going to be sporting their Crocs like they were during the past 2 years. So it kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? Like that all makes a lot of sense. Now, also, there are massive supply chain issues. Obviously, in China, we have massive inflation. Shipping is up, right? We're potentially going into a recession. These are all really negative things, as Jordan said, for
And we've
any
talked about all those risk factors on previous shows, and that's when I got out of half of my position.
It makes sense, but there's something even worse that happened to Crocs in terms of like the institutional perspective. For a very long time, Crocs was a company that bought back massive amounts of stock. Wall Street loved that. This is a cash flow company. This is a company that was profitable and printing money, and they were taking that money to buy back stock, which is essentially exactly the same as taking that money and handing it back to investors. Institutions love that because it's certainty, okay? The knock on Crocs has always been that it's a fad, and we don't know when the fad is going to end. And the second that it ends, this company is going to be in trouble, just like they got in trouble the first time the fad ended, okay, with Crocs. But the way that they dealt with that issue was they said, you know what? We are going to hand back so much of our profit back to our investors that even if we crash and burn in 6 years, it won't really matter that much, 6 or 7 years, right? So Wall Street loved that. So like, as long as you buy back stock, we will support you. And that stock took a run of a lifetime from the 30s to 180, okay, over the past few years. Now, right around the time that people started to get worried that, well, this is a pandemic stock. Oh my gosh, I can't keep these margins up. The growth rate, there's no way. They're saying they're going to double revenue over the next 5-6 years. There's no way that's going to happen. Right around that time, they went out and did the worst thing you could possibly do in terms of institutional interest. They essentially took on an insane amount of debt, billions of dollars of debt. The company is only worth a few $1 billion. They took on billions of dollars of debt, okay, to buy the weirdest shoe company in the world, a shoe company that virtually nobody on Wall Street has ever heard of, called Hey Dudes. Okay, what this actually did was prevent them from buying back stock for the next year and a half. Okay, because their debt to earnings ratio is now out of alignment with the framework they had established, okay, for purchasing back stock with their lenders. So they cannot buy back stock until they make enough money to pay down enough of that new debt, okay, and to where the earnings to debt ratio allows them to buy back stock. At the same time, the thesis for buying this company that most people just assumed was they know what we're concerned about. They know that this revenue growth is not sustainable. They know that this is just a pandemic stock, and they're going to go out and try to buy growth in a desperation move, paying a ridiculous amount of money for a brand that no one's ever heard of before, that essentially makes casual loafers. On the surface, that sounds like the dumbest thing in the world. And if you're an analyst, if you're a hedge fund, you're going to look at this and you are going to run. You're going to sprint for that door, okay? And that's exactly
what happened. Okay,
Yep.
it's exactly what happened. Okay, so let's just address. Okay, what's the other side? So where do we think that's maybe wrong? Okay, so what if? Let me say, what if Crocs wasn't a pandemic stock? What if the pandemic just simply accelerated trial of Crocs, which is what we saw with a lot of nurses, right, and healthcare? What if it accelerated this movement towards comfort? And what if I'm going to poke? This is my thesis now, right? What if comfort fashion is not a fad? What if comfort fashion is a durable trend that essentially lasts for many, 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 many more years, if not forever? If not forever. What if that thesis is actually the correct thesis? Because let me tell you something. Everybody thought that casual workwear was a fad a long time ago. We're old enough here on this channel that at least me and Dave, Jordan has a few years under us, but we're old enough to remember that this whole concept of wearing a polo to work or a sweater, people are like, that is never gonna last. Was that a fad, or was that a forever trend that would literally do nothing but grow?
A forever trend that actually accelerated to the point where if you're not wearing a t-shirt, you're overdressed.
Exactly. Okay, exactly. So what I have a thesis, and I'm not saying it's 100% right, but there's a thesis out there that I have that comfort fashion never goes away and that it actually only grows. I don't maybe forever in perpetuity until we're all wearing moon suits that have like air conditioning in them. I don't know, but like we literally just continue to make ourselves more comfortable over time. Okay, so that's my atheist. But what else? What else? What if now, on top of that, because that would basically crush the concept that now that we're out of the pandemic, people are just going to go back to wearing like high heels and like dressier shoes and never wear Crocs again. What if the Hey Dudes acquisition actually ended up being what YouTube was for Google, or what Instagram was for Facebook, meaning they looked ridiculous at the time. And we saw Mark Cuban's quote this week on Twitter when he said that YouTube was the dumbest, most ridiculous acquisition of all time when they bought it at Google. And we know what the world thought when they spent that money on Instagram, when Facebook did, how ridiculous that was overpaying, right? What if Hey Dudes ends up being one of the smartest, most strategic acquisitions by, an apparel slash, shoe company of the past 30 years? What if they knew exactly what they were doing? What if the genius team at Crocs, because I'm going to call them a genius team, because they have executed 10x better than anyone thought was possible the last 5 years, okay? What if they saw something in Hey Dudes that nobody else in the world sees, okay? Because I've been doing guys, I've done 8 store interviews in the last week, okay? Hey Dudes is sold primarily at 3 retailers: Dillard's, Journeys, and Buckle. Okay, those are the 3 major retailers that sell Hey Dudes. And I've gone to most of those retailers here in the Dallas area the last week and done interviews, and the information that I pulled is astonishing, okay? But even more so than that, Dave, Jordan, I know I kind of shared this with you last week, and I hope you did it. I suggest that every single person watching this episode, when this episode is over, go to TikTok, search for Hey Dudes, one word, resort for last 90 days, last 3 months. So you're only looking at TikToks from the last 3 months. I want every single person to watch 50 to 75 of those videos, okay? And read the comments on at least 10 of those videos. And only by doing that will I think you will see what the team at Crocs saw when they decide to make this acquisition. Because I actually think that Hey Dudes is essentially a new world Crocs. Like it's essentially identical to Crocs in the weirdest ways while being completely different. Meaning someone that's into Hey Dudes might hate Crocs, but they're buying Hey Dudes for the exact same reason that someone wants to buy Crocs. Because there's something about this shoe that is so ridiculously light, so ridiculously comfortable, and so ridiculously fashion flexible in terms of you might want to own 100 pairs because literally you think you bought a cool pair and then a week later you see an ad or someone wearing a slightly different pattern that you're like, my pattern sucks now, I must own that pattern. I thought I owned a great pair of black Hey Dudes, and now that I saw that this slightly different fabric of black is way nicer than the one I bought 3 weeks ago, I'm going to spend another $40 on that. It is a cult that is driven by comfort and by, like, it's hard to really explain until you've owned a pair of Hey Dudes. You just don't really know. And the interview that I had yesterday with an individual at the Buckle store in Dallas, he told me something. He said most of the people that come in and buy Hey Dudes are Hey Dude addicts. He goes, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. He goes, they are either just replacing their Hey Dudes, getting more for the season, or they own 50 pairs and they just can't stop buying them. And he's like, 10% of the people that come in are brand new to the Hey Dudes. And I go, and do you think like maybe half of them are turning into the, he's like, yeah. And then one out of every so many of those people turn into Hey Dude addicts, right? How many brands can you say that about where some percentage of people that buy the product, we can say 50%, 20%, doesn't matter, literally turn into cult addicts of the brand? How rare is that for any type of shoe or clothing brand? We see it occasionally, right?
Yeah.
But it is wild.
It's a very unique experience, and I will tell you that you first turned me onto these, and I thought I was getting some new younger fashion trend because I had to go to a teen shop in the mall. I had to go to Buckle to find them. Right now, they're so comfortable. I tell everyone I know about them. I've had people see me wearing them, tell me about them, and it's just. I just go on Amazon. I think of them as disposable because they're a low enough price point. You just have 5 pairs. You get all the colors, so that you have a dark pair, you have a light pair, you have a pair. I will tell you one thing they're not good for. I'm in Yellowstone right now, and this is a picture of me trying to get the rocks out. They're not good for hiking, and they're not good for snow because they're not waterproof.
But Dave,
I
besides
wear
the
these
design,
nonstop.
But Dave, this besides the design of the shoe, the fabric versatility. You can literally buy these with stretch fabric that feels the way to interpret what a Hey Dude is. It's basically a slipper, a home slipper that's totally acceptable to wear anywhere you want outside. So if you watch TikTok videos, you will see that people wear them under wedding dresses. It's obviously a huge shoe that people wear to the beach and pools and stuff, but they literally will wear them like it trends with construction workers. It trends with people that wear Western boots, like that people that wear work boots that are like, I just want to get back in my Hey Dudes at the end of it. Like they literally transition from whatever shoe they're wearing into Hey Dudes, but they don't have to wait till they get home because you could actually wear these everywhere. Okay, but you can actually get fabric that is a little more formal, a little more casual. It's a travel shoe. Like it's so differentiated. It's hard to really even explain. They have created a new class of shoe that who would have thought there's a new class of shoe you could create in 2019, 2020. That's essentially what they did. And again, until you watch it, oh, by the way, the customization, people are beating them. People are basically, there are companies that are buying crates of Hey Dudes, by the crate, and they are taking them and they are cutting custom leather. I forget, like, what do you call the piece on the top? Well, what's that part of the shoe called? Like I don't know, the top of the shoe,
The
and
top.
they basically glue them on, so they have
They can
hundreds, if
rebrand
not
them. Yeah.
thousands of custom pairs of Hey Dudes that sell on the secondary market that appears to be primarily marketed to the Hispanic market, which, as we all know, is gigantic. Okay, Dave, can we take a look at that G Trends chart, the geographical concentration? This is an advantage. Okay, so
That's
the
from your computer,
what?
Chris. You can
I'm
control that.
sorry, you can barely see that. Sorry, that's my bad. But oh wait,
Hit
let me
Command
see if I
plus
can.
to zoom in.
Let me see if I'm gonna zoom in. Hold on, I'm gonna zoom in more. Here's a thing. Is that better, Dave?
I can read it.
Okay. So the geographical concentration of Hey Dude is fascinating because it's an Italian shoe, which is crazy. It's an Italian based shoe, right? It starts to trend in the dead center of the country, in the most rural areas. If you watch these TikToks, what you will see are the people that are forcing this to trend are the complete opposite of who normally drives fashion trends, okay? I mean, Dave, how would you interpret like the demographic that you're seeing in these videos?
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's across the board. Every demographic you can think of is wearing these shoes.
But in the middle of the country, like, look at these states: West Virginia, Missouri, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Kansas. That's where this trend is surfacing from. So there should be zero confusion why Wall Street analysts and hedge funds thought this brand was a joke. How often do you see a brand surface out of those states where the only stores that you can buy them in, other than independent stores, are Dillard's, Buckle, and what was the other one? Journeys? I mean, that's just weird. Weird, right?
And Amazon, though. Think about that. The Amazon.
Oh,
play.
we gotta show let me show that, Dave. I'm gonna go back. I gotta
Yeah, I
show
might be
this
able to find it,
Amazon.
too.
So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna search for here. Sorry guys. This is such a strong. All right, here we go. Amazon bestseller loafers, okay? So Amazon bestseller loafers, let's see what they are, okay? Right now, pulling them up. Boom! You see that? Dude, so 6 of the top 6 best-selling loafers on Amazon are Hey Dudes. By the way, for everyone talking about On Running, I always say that company wrong. Onen's the stock symbol. Yes, we did say the same thing, and it's true. The difference is that is a company that was crazy hyped on Wall Street, trading at a ridiculously high multiple. This is now a new subsidiary, a major one of Crocs, where the whole company's trading at a 5 PE. Okay, so very different story from people that are looking at On. Listen, we were trading On Running, and if you recall, we bought a very tiny bit of On Running because we were so concerned about the valuation. We were like, the brand is freaking blowing up. But for some reason, like because of the market we were in, people were trading it up like it's blowing up. This, on the other hand, that is wild. But I'm going to show you one other thing, getting back to Crocs. I'm going to also pull now Amazon, just straight up Amazon bestseller men's shoes, okay? Just straight up all men's shoes on Amazon. Bestsellers in men's shoes. And we're going to count them. Ready? Of the top 20, number 1 is Crocs. Number 4 is Hey Dudes. Number 2's not even a shoe, by the way. We shouldn't even count that thing, right?
It's a water
Number
shoe.
6 is Hey Dudes. Number 8 is Crocs. By the way, number 7 is a knockoff Crocs. That so pisses me off. Okay. Okay, we have number 12 is Crocs. We have number 17 is Hey Dudes. Number 19 is Hey Dudes. And number 22 is Crocs. So we basically have 8 of the top 22 shoes. Number 25 is Hey Dudes. Okay, so it's Crocs is number 30, and we just keep seeing a combination of either Crocs or Hey Dudes in that top 25 set, top 30 set. Oh, look, there's another pair of the Crocs, the number 30 are the Crocs slides. I mean, this is kind of mind-blowing how well these brands are doing. So here's the thing. What do we need to see appreciation in Crocs shoes, in Crocs the company, in terms of market appreciation in this stock price? And what are the risk factors? We don't need the company to do really anything great at all. Like if this company could simply just meet their expectations over the next 4 or 5 quarters, in my opinion, and we're not financial advisors, this is my opinion for my portfolio. If they could just do what they said they were going to do and not implode, I think we see a clean double or more. Clean double or more. All they have to do is meet expectations. On the other hand, the biggest risk factor in owning Crocs at this level, and it's come down a lot, is a recession that essentially leads to heavy promotional activity across the entire shoe sector. Meaning, as well as Crocs are doing, we see heavy promotional activity with competing brands, with Skechers, with flip-flops, right? All that stuff. If all the stores start marking this stuff down 30, 40%, there's simply no way that that's not going to negatively impact Crocs. It's an impossibility. It really doesn't matter how well Crocs are doing, how on trend they are. They're still going to get hurt in a heavy recessionary environment. And that's what's keeping me from like going all in. That's my caveat on the high conviction trade. So my caveat is I have a high conviction in Crocs, the company. I have less than high conviction in the macro environment and the possible recession that's coming to lead to promotional activity that will negatively impact all these companies, including Crocs. And in fact, I kind of halfway hope it happens, because in that scenario, I'd probably just buy a hell of a lot more Crocs. But there's a piece of information that I said I would give that came out of a conversation yesterday. And by the way, in all of my store interviews, except for one store interview, every single person I interviewed told me that Crocs and Hey Dudes were doing as well or better than this season last year. One Dillard store said the Hey Dudes were doing worse than last year. So it's a little bit of a concern. And one thing that I'm going to ask out of and that's not the piece of information I'm sharing. It's coming. One thing I'm going to ask of our community that is super important is that we go all in on research over the next few months. And inside of our Discord, I forget what channel it is inside our Discord. We have like an apparel channel, I think. Maybe we can put it under that channel. But if we go all in on local research at Buckle, Journeys, and Dillard's, and we go in those stores and simply ask, hey, were you working a year ago? That's the first thing I was like, was anyone here working last spring, last summer? And I find that person. And then I ask them, hey, let me ask you a question. Because like Dillard sells Hey Dudes and Crocs. Journey sells both. And Buckle, I think, only sells Hey Dudes. I say, hey, how were Hey Dudes doing? How are they doing now relative to last year? Are they more popular or less popular than last summer? Are you getting more inventory of them or less inventory? One thing that I found out is that they're just as popular, potentially more, but they're getting a lot more inventory randomly. We thought they were having supply issues, guys. If you listen to that last call, the last earnings call, Crocs management said that they were actually very comfortable with the supply chain right now for their brands coming out of China. They're a little more concerned about inflationary transport issues driving cost up this next quarter, but that was factored into their guidance. okay? But that they were able to leverage the Crocs distribution channels to pump out Hey Dudes out of China, which is awesome, by the way. So they're saying that they had supply issues last summer, but they're doing better now. That was kind of nice to hear. But here's here's what I thought was amazing. Here's the piece of information that is just, to me, alpha gold. But it's only one store. Only one store. So I need everybody asking this question so we could figure out, is this truly true? Okay. In Journeys, the question I asked Journeys, because Journeys has about the same number of Crocs as they do Hey Dudes. And if you look at Crocs revenue, it's like, Dave, what is it, like 4 billion a year? It's like in the billions. It's in the billions. If you look at Hey Dudes revenue, it's in the hundreds of millions. They're not even at stores outside of the US. You could only buy them on their website and Amazon, okay? They're only in a handful of stores in the US. Limited distribution, limited market, virtually zero marketing, okay? Journeys, I said, let me ask you a question. What's doing better? What's more popular? Crocs? Because they told me both of them are doing as well, if not better, than last year. Actually, it said Hey Dudes are doing better than last year. What does better, Crocs or Hey Dudes? They told me that Hey Dudes were doing better than Crocs. And I was like, wow, is this the reason why so many executives at Crocs have been buying the stock? For those of you that are following insider buys the last couple months, in the 70s, a massive amount of insider buying at Crocs by executives. Are they seeing what I just heard? That they think, do they believe with conviction that they have a brand that can be as big or bigger than their primary brand the second that they add manufacturing, distribution, more retailers, which they already have, by the way? They literally have all the retailers. They are bringing the sales function in-house. So Hey Dudes outsourced their sales team, okay? Crocs basically said, we are not going to have an outsourced sales team for Hey Dudes. We are firing our outsourced sales group. As of April 1, I think, or April 30th, they're fired. We are inviting all the independent sales agents to join Crocs if they want. And we're taking that in-house because we already have relationships with literally thousands of retailers around the world, right? They're going to take that brand and they're going to say, you know what? This brand is blowing up in Kentucky and Missouri. And it's going to blow up everywhere. We just got to get it in the stores, add some marketing. Could you imagine when we actually have celebrities doing collabs with Hey Dudes, which, by the way, Hey Dudes are probably even cooler to do collabs with, right? With the diversity of designs and craziness as Crocs are, okay? And do they think they have something that could be bigger than Crocs? Because they told Wall Street that they're going to grow this from like a $600 million revenue thing, or a $700 million revenue company, which is where it is now, to $1 billion in 2024. $1 billion. You're saying you're only going to grow this 37% in 2 years? Seriously? They could double this easily in 2 years. They could maybe triple this thing in 2.5 years. I think they know something, and they're not willing to, because it would seem ridiculous to share that with us right now, right? To share it with Wall Street. But they are buying the stock. Nothing is guaranteed. They know it's not a sure thing. But in their minds, they're like, it's an execution play. They already know that people freak out over this shoe. All they got to do is get it in more hands, and they were going to create another Crocs cult with Hey Dudes because they've already seen it on a small scale. So, like, this is a special opportunity. So, like I said, that's my thesis, man. But I need us to go ask that same question to 50 different Journey stores and see what they say. I want to know. And by the way, you know why I love this, Jordan? I know, Jordan, we're so worried about like consumers right now. But what I love is if promotional activity starts to hit, I feel like we'll see that in real time. It's very easy if you're checking daily to see it in real time. Also, if for any reason the Crocs trend starts to like back off, if we're doing store interviews and we're checking G trends and we're checking web stats, which I check almost daily, we'll see that traffic start to drop. We'll see it as it's happening. So I think hopefully we'll have time to back off our trade here. So I think the risk for me of not owning a lot of Crocs is greater than the risk of owning it in this scenario, and I'll just back off if I start to see any of those warning flags. So sorry, guys. I know I went off forever just lecturing on this, but I'm excited about this. How often do we have a high conviction? And this one comes with a caveat. It comes with a caveat of recession screwing it up. Okay, but that's it.
All right. I have some comments that I think that we need to get to. First off, when you were doing your Amazon searches, a lot of people noting that you're getting different results than they do because Amazon adjusts based on user and area. So you should use a private browser mode next time you do that, Chris.
Right.
I felt that. Oh, I usually do use a private browser. That was on my YouTube computer, which I don't have set. But usually, I think the results are better with the private browser than they were for us just then. Because I usually counted last time, guys, on a private browser. I counted like 10 of the top 20 or 11 of the top 20, I thought. So,
yeah, Static is reporting that only 3 of the top 30
Where is that Static? What region is that in, though? What region?
And then another note that Crocs sandal is on an uptrend in searches as well. Have you seen the Crocs sandal, and have you seen the dude's sandal?
Dude, the Hey
You have a dude
sandal.
sandal. Don't tell me you have a dude sandal.
No, but I did try one on yesterday, Dave, and it's freaking amazing. And if you check the comments in TikTok for Hey Dude sandals, when people are starting to do videos about them this week, people are freaking out. And they're like, dude, where can I get these? So where is it? Amazon, Hey Dudes. Oh, that's a weird one. Okay, here's just a random. This one here is a random. Let me just pull this one up. Why can't it just show me a big picture? Okay, so there's the Hey Dudes sandal right there. The one thing you'll notice about the Hey Dudes sandal, it's just a little bit different. It just looks and feels a little bit different from your average sandal. And that's the thing about Hey Dudes. They're just, because of their fabric swatches, the way that they do their soles, they're just a little bit lighter, a little bit more comfortable, and a little bit differentiated. And that's enough to really create a brand and a cult vibe around that brand. So one of the stores I was in, Dave, I asked them.
Men's Hey Dudes live at
This is one of the
Buckle.
TikToks you sent me showing Hey Dudes sandals. Yeah.
Men's Hey Dudes live at Buckle.
So
No sound on
I was
that,
at
but-
Buckle, and they didn't have any sandals. And they
Men's
said it
Hey
was because
Dudes
they
live
sold
at
out
Buckle.
and had to send their last few to another store that was requesting them for
Men's Hey
customers.
Dudes
And that's always a
live
great
at
sign, too. But let me say this, guys. Sandals are a brand new
Men's
thing
Hey
for Hey
Dudes
Dudes.
live
It's
at
a
Buckle.
brand new sector. That's
Hey
just like...
Dude sandals.
Dude, are you serious? Like, Hey Dudes are already fire with the traditional.
Hey
Let's
Dude
call it the
sandals.
clog version of Hey Dudes is what they had. They're differentiated, whatever they call them. Like, I
Hey
don't even know what
Dude
they call them.
sandals.
But like now they're doing sandals and like an infinite number of designs.
Hey Dude
People
sandals.
love having something that is different, right? That is just, they feel like it's
Hey
there.
Dude
You know, like,
sandals.
you're not going to see 1,000 people wearing the same exact pattern.
Hey
the same
Dude
exact
sandals.
thing. And that's why people love Hey Dudes. They can hear the TikTok. So
Hey Dude sandals.
they can hear it. It's loud.
Oh, they could.
Yeah, they can hear it.
Hey
All right.
Dude sandals.
Again.
I couldn't hear it, so
It's still playing.
Hey
It's still playing.
it's gone now. How about
All right,
that?
gone. Sorry, guys.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. It's
I'm
off.
getting
It's off.
yeah.
All right. So I don't know. I mean, how what am I missing? What am I missing here, guys? Like that's the big question is what am I missing? Oh, by the way, I spoke to one of my good friends who had been working at one of the top 10 largest hedge funds for the past decade. I told him my Crocs thesis, and his one piece of feedback to me which is super interesting. And he's like, Crocs is literally routinely at the very top of every hedge fund like short list, like for shorting, like all the like it's people love their short thesis on Crocs because there's something about this company where you put a finance head on it and they just don't believe the story. It's so stupid. The whole concept of these rubber shoes, if you go back through history, it's inbred in our brains as finance guys to think this thing is just it's a ticking time bomb before the whole thing freaking implodes and it goes to zero, right? And that is a thesis that comes up again and again and again on Wall Street. And he's like, it is totally in the brains of big money managers to want to naturally short this company. That's just the way it's kind of always been. And I love hearing that because what that says to me is that they have a bias towards this company. They have a really strong bias. And I love that they're biased against this company because if I have data, if I'm seeing something that's real that goes against that thesis, they're not going to believe it until they see it in the numbers. And even when they see it in the numbers, they're not going to believe it until they see it again and again and again. And I don't even know what the short, what's the short, I don't think is it like 5% short or something like that?
Yeah, I just had it up on the screen. It's 4.66.
Yeah, 4.6. So I would imagine that it's not going to probably drop a lot from there because it's a stock that they love shorting, right? They just don't believe in it. So I love that.
And as soon as they start doing some collabs, so that people don't have to do their homemade collabs by replacing the top portion with their own branding.
Can you show one of those, Dave? Because those are amazing on TikTok.
Did you send me a link? I couldn't find one.
I'm not showing any more
TikTok after that audio difficulty.
Oh, I know. But I texted to you and Jordan. I'll try to find one. All right, what other questions do we have though on this thesis?
Looking for questions. We've answered all the questions.
Those are the ones that I had.
Those are the ones that I had pulled up. I did flag a couple of people making fun of me for wearing Hey Dudes while hiking. No, I've actually switched to my on-ons for hiking purposes.
Oh, nice.
Let me get to Mr. Super Gibbs ask thoughts on input cost affecting margin, please. So one thing that Crocs said in the last call is that they did have higher input cost. And they did have higher transport costs, but those higher input and transport costs are factored into their 2022 earnings revisions. And I think they're still expecting the brand to grow 20%. They're still expecting margins to be, 27, 28%. They're still very extraordinarily high. One thing I found to be interesting, though, and this is like really timely, is that they factored the Shanghai shutdown into their Q2. Okay. Now, what's interesting is, as of yesterday, I was seeing stories saying that Shanghai is literally in the process of opening up this week. Okay. So that actually could be an unexpected tailwind if Shanghai truly does fully open up over the next few weeks, right? Because Crocs, they came out and said that they had to factor in a Shanghai shutdown into their current quarter. So I think that might actually be a positive there. We'll ultimately see if it is or isn't. What else, guys? What other guys? I spent way too much time studying Crocs and Hey Dudes. If there's anything you guys want to know about it, please ask. I'll answer any question on the brands.
When you're asking sales teams, which had better sales on Hey Dudes? Was it Buckles or Journeys?
Yeah, so there wasn't a distinguishable difference. I will say that Dillard's was a little, like I said, the data coming from Dillard's was a little bit more negative than Journeys and Buckle. And that said, one Dillard's told me that she's like, dude, these shoes, these short shoes are flying. And I was like, I asked her who the demographic was, and she said that they used to be kids, and now like kids are coming in with grandparents and they're buying them. So she's like, it's spreading. When I look at the TikToks, obviously TikTok is geared towards a younger generation, and we already know, I think it was a Jeffrey survey that says that, this is mind blowing, by the way. They're saying that Hey Dudes is number 8 brand on the teen survey, or maybe it was just for apparel brand. It might have just been apparel, but like, Hey Dudes, the brand's like primarily in 8 states. How is that even possible? But what I find interesting is on TikTok, I do see younger people, but I see an insane number of older people, like in their 40s, like 30s, 40s, and even 50s, people that are not even like TikTok style. Like I'm saying, like construction workers, just like people that just you don't think of when you think of TikTok, that are just like going like over the top, gushing about Hey Dudes. And they're like, I don't give a damn what you think. I am literally wearing nothing but Hey Dudes for the rest of my life type of TikToks, right? They're like, give me my Hey Dudes. And then people are, it's fascinating to see the passion, right?
I have a friend who's a plumber in Oklahoma and wears Hey Dudes. And I don't think he's on TikTok.
But guys, that's what drives, that's what drives Crocs. People, the whole concept of people being super fashionable wearing Crocs is actually a relatively new thing, right? With the Justin Bieber collab, the Bad Bunny, like all the super hype collabs, that they have a template for that, and they're going to attempt to do the same thing with Hey Dudes. And I have news for everybody here. People that live in New York and LA, people that are in the entertainment industry, like to be comfortable too. Like, they like comfort fashion. They freaking love comfort fashion. Their Kardashians are wearing Crocs for a reason. Because when you have everything, the one thing you still want is comfort. And if you have the luxury of being able to have everything you wear become cool because you're wearing it, you're going to choose comfort, right? A lot of the time. So, like, I really feel that they have a good shot at taking that template they created with Crocs and making it. By the way, Hey Dudes are already cool. It's a top 8 apparel company for Gen Z, right? Like, according to this teen survey. So, like, it's not like they're taking an uncool company like Skechers and trying to make them cool. They have a niche cult cool company that they now need to just basically expand that, like just expand it, what already exists. That's a way easier thing to do than to take something like Crocs that was kind of like not cool and make it cool. So I don't know.
And I think it's important to note here, we talked about Hey Dudes before Crocs acquired it. We're like, oh, if we could only invest in Hey Dudes. Well, that's
you can.
CROX is the ticker for Hey Dudes, because Crocs acquired them. So to answer that question,
Dave, you know what I'm realizing is that, like,
where did you
I've
go?
been looking at these Hey Dudes, and the new Hey Dudes are so much cooler than so my Hey Dudes, which are probably like your Hey Dudes, are so bland. When we bought, like a year ago, when we bought our Hey Dudes, they have kind of like, they're all kind of bland. The new Hey Dudes, if you go to the Hey Dudes website, I can go there. Like, dude, the new Hey Dudes are like so freaking cool. It's just like they're way more interesting. Like, I have too many keyboards out here.
Yeah,
I've
got
like,
this.
I'm going.
Well, here's their coupon. Let me get rid of that. Let's just look. I'm going to go shopping.
Are you on, Dave?
Yeah.
I mean, they have like hundreds and hundreds of crazy, insane fabrics and styles and combinations. Dude, they have this one that was trending this week with the American. They have various versions with American flags around it that people are just buying for the summer. Like, I don't know how many SKUs they have, but it feels like they have like a 2,000 SKUs of Hey Dude. Like every possible combination and weird thing you could think of, and every single few days they're coming out with new ones.
Something I wouldn't wear.
Well, I wouldn't wear, but like, so they have these unboxings on TikTok, and what's fascinating is they kind of have a Hey Dude for everyone. Like if you just want something like conservative, they got you. You want something southern, they got you. You want something funky, they got you. You want a theme, they got you. Right? You want something that's just literally just comfort. You want nothing but stretch material. And like, by the way, they have summer ones that have holes going all the way through them. So it's like the whole thing is aerated. By the way, all these tricks, what everyone's doing with their Hey Dudes, Dave, I don't know if you know this, but you're supposed to get the anklet socks, turn them upside down, take the Hey Dude sole out, cover the insole, the insert with one of those little sock things upside down, put it back into the Hey Dude shoe, and then it's a sock. So basically, you're wearing a sock on the bottom of your foot instead of being on the thing is on a sock. That's like a trend that everyone's doing. I don't care enough to do that.
I will try that. I've actually been wearing them with socks when I have been on rocky trails. So,
sorry, I lost you here.
I might have to try that. People are asking about the durability. Well,
Dave, Jordan, could you hear Dave?
My AirPods are probably just about to die. It's just you.
It's me.
All right. You have anything else to say? We should probably wrap up.
Okay, so I know I've went on a long time. Let's wrap up the risk factor, though. Risk factor is recession. So, guys, hey, if a recession truly does hit and it leads to promotional activity for shoes in the channel, man, I see this thing getting hit more. I'm fine with that. I truly am. As long as the trends continue for Hey Dude and Crocs, I probably see that as an opportunity to buy more. I'm not buying options in this because of the macro fluctuations in the market and that risk of a recession. I think our best defense is to come together as a community and interview as many Dillard's, Journeys, and Buckle stores around the United States as possible, and not one time, but once a month. Go in there once a month and see if anything has changed. We want to know how they're selling compared to last year. We want to know we basically want to know, are they continuing to get inventory? We want to look for sales, right? If we see these things starting to go on sale, the one thing that's nice is in the Crocs store. I went to basically Mall of America, guys, in Minneapolis for VCon, and I left the conference for hours to go to Mall of America to the Crocs store, because it's hard to find a real mall Crocs store, right? And one thing you'll notice in the Crocs store is there's virtually very little promotional activity. Oh, one thing we got to talk about before we leave, real quick, Dave, because it's like buy one, get one, 25% off. The Crocs margin story that nobody understands. Everyone is thinking the margins are going to come way back. But I don't think people realize, because the company does not break this out, to the best of my knowledge. What do you call them? Tibbet. What are they called? The little things that you put on the Crocs.
Gibbets.
The cost of gibbets are $4.95 each. And gibbets have been trending so hard this last year. At the center of the Crocs store, they basically have a huge circular thing of gibbets. And there's like 10 people searching through them to make their names, looking for ones that are like seasonal. I want an American flag one for the 4th of July. Like, they have all these collabs with all these brands to do like gibbets for, I don't know what they're doing, Disney gibbets or like they're doing gibbets for everything. $5 a gibbet. Now, they do have, like, you buy 8, you get 3 free. I think if you buy like 13 or 17, but buy 17, you get 17 free. Who's going to buy 17 for $5 each? People are doing it. They're absolutely crazy. But gibbet sales are such an important piece of this margin story. And the company has said that they are going to grow revenue with China. I think they said with other regions of the world and with gibbets. Okay. So those are their big areas for growth. So by the way, China opening up, guys, could be another massive tailwind for Crocs. A headwind for Crocs and any other consumer company that sells globally are the U.S. dollar, right? As the U.S. dollar continues to trade up, it means any sales that Crocs does internationally will bring in less dollars. And they took a pretty big hit this last quarter because of that. They'll probably continue to take hits every quarter because of that. By the way, it's getting a little bit tougher to have good comps because they increased their prices this same quarter last year. So that's like another slight negative that people, these are all things we get to look out for, right? If you see the dollar coming down, that's a good thing. Dollar continues to go up, that's a bad thing for every company that sells internationally. Just something we should all be aware of. China opening up, good thing for Crocs, okay? Deep recession, bad for Crocs. But guys, let's interview those store clerks. Let's share it in the dumbmoney.tv/Discord, please. And give us a thumbs up. We've done so much work on this one. I'll continue to work on this one. Yes, it's scary. Consumer discretionary is scary, but you know, let it take the sector down. If it does more, I'm happy about it. This is not a 3-month investment for me, guys. This is something that I hope to triple my money in over the next 18 to 24 months, whenever it is that things calm. Oh, by the way, Crocs said that they'll be able to start rebuying stock if everything goes to plan next summer. Now, if that actually happens and they start their share repurchases, boom, talk about a tailwind again for this stock. So we just need them to.
Bottom line, you are buying this actively. I am holding
Yes.
my existing shares, and Jordan
Yeah.
is not buying. Is that
We'll pass.
what's going on here?
Yep.
A hard pass.
Jordan, you have so much cash. Just get you a little Crocs, man. A little bit at this level. It's a little bit. You're like 40% cash right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I'm also, guys, I'm 50 to 60% hedged across my account still. With shorting SPY and triple Q. Still, I'm still that hedged.
I am not.
You're not?
I closed all of my and the market has been going up ever since, which never happens. Normally, when
I'm
I
happy
short,
for
that's when
you,
the market
Dave.
takes off.
I'm happy for you, man. I just have to be careful at these levels. I'm just gonna chill out and keep my hedge on for a while longer, and I'm gonna make less money on the way up, but that's okay.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are Dumb Money. We will see you right back here. Subscribe, bell, like button, do all the things. We'll see you.